Hey, so if you have been trying to learn more English vocabulary, chances are you might have faced one or more of these challenges. First of all, you're not exactly sure how to learn new words, new phrases. You just don't know where to start. Second, you make long lists of words, so you have a lot of new vocabulary, but you never look at the list again, and then you never end up using all of these words that you wrote down. And third, you study lots of new vocabulary, but when you are in the middle of a conversation, when you're speaking, you forget it, and once again, you're not able to use it. Now, if you have faced any of these challenges, it just means that the approach that you are using to learn vocabulary is not the right approach and it's not working for you. So let's talk about how exactly you can take your English vocabulary to the next level. First of all, think back to when you were a child, when you were very little and when you were learning to speak your own language for the first time. You heard your parents say things to you like, hi, and you listened and you heard the same words again and again and again, and eventually you repeated those words. You said hi back. This is an example of repetition. So you heard words again and again and again, and then you just started saying them. Maybe when you were a little kid, you didn't understand the word hi or good morning, but you understood, okay, this is something that my mom and dad say to me in the morning, or this is something that they say when I wake up, right? So you're kind of imagining and filling in the blanks of what some words might mean. And at that time, you didn't understand the definition of every word, but you were able to imagine the meaning or kind of understand what this word means or what result you get from saying this word based on the context. So this is an example of context. And then when you were a little bit older, you went to school and you learned lots more words and lots more phrases, but these were more organized into subjects or into groups. For example, you probably learned colors or animals or numbers and so on and so on. And this is an example of organization. So these are the 3 keys to learning English vocabulary. First of all, we have repetition. Secondly, we have context. And third, we have organization. So let's break down how these 3 keys apply to your life now as an adult English learner. Repetition. You absolutely must repeat new vocabulary in order to remember it. This is the only way you will remember it. It is impossible to learn a new word or a new phrase one time and then just remember it forever. It's impossible. You need to repeat it and make it a part of your everyday speech. And repetition of new vocabulary is going to help you learn the meaning, the use, the spelling, and the pronunciation of new words. A lot of times what happens is when we come across a new word, we see or hear something new, we write it down and we start to develop this very long list of vocabulary. But then we do not use these new words or phrases, and as a result, we just forget them. And a lot of different studies show that in order to remember something new, you need to use it between 20 and 30 times. But simply writing it down in a list is actually just using it one time, nowhere near 20 or 30 times, all right? So you must repeat new words and phrases until they become a natural part of your speech. So whenever you discover a new word or a new phrase that you like, just use it over and over and over again. Next, we have context. Now, you should always use the context, the situation, or the topic to help you understand new vocabulary. I'll say that again. Always use the context, the situation, or the topic of whatever you're reading or listening to or watching to help you understand new vocabulary. So for example, let's say that you're reading a list of fruits, okay? So apple, banana, pear, orange, and lychee. And you've never heard of lychee before. Based on the context, which is a list of fruits, you can assume that this is a fruit, okay? It's okay if you don't know what fruit it is, but at least you understand, okay, this is a fruit. So this is a very, very simple example, but sometimes our brains don't naturally work this way. But if you train yourself to always approach new vocabulary like this, it will really help you to understand it and, of course, to learn the new words that you need to learn, the words that you're always coming across. Now, a lack of context is also why long lists of vocabulary don't usually work well for you. Imagine that you teach me 100 random words in your language. So you teach me words like water, unbelievable, apple, phenomenal, door. These words have absolutely nothing in common, no relation to each other, there's no context. So I might be able to learn, memorize, repeat these words. However, there's no context to help me understand when to use them out in the real world. They're just random things that don't mean anything to me. So if you have long lists of vocabulary without any context, that's why they're not effective. It's almost like just reading a dictionary and trying to memorize a dictionary of random words in alphabetical order, and then trying to go and have a conversation and use all those new words. It's very difficult, if not impossible. So, with all this said, whenever you come across a new word or a new phrase, pay attention to the context. Pay attention to how it is used in a sentence. Pay attention to other words that it's used together with. Try to learn a chunk of text or a phrase instead of just a random individual word. Just pay attention to how other people often use this word, and that will give you a clear idea of the context. Okay, now let's talk about organization. When you are a child learning in school, all of the new language, the new words, the new phrases that you learn are already organized for you into subjects by your teachers, by your school books, and so on. So you don't have to think about this organization. It's already done for you. So for example, you learn scientific vocabulary in science class, you learn grammar words in English class, and so on and so on. That's all done for you. You don't have to think about all these little details. But as an adult, out in the real world, you're faced with all of this new language and all these new words, and it's not organized for you. But the cool thing is that you can choose how you would like to organize new vocabulary in a way that is logical and actually makes sense for you. Now, this step does require a little bit of effort, but don't worry, I'll explain exactly how to do it. Here's what you need to do. Get yourself a notebook. You're gonna physically divide it into sections, all right? So let's say you divide it into 4 different sections, 1, 2, 3, and 4, okay? You then need to decide what kind of vocabulary you need for your life. So for example, you might need vocabulary for work or professional language or technical language or business English, okay? So that's gonna be your first section, vocabulary for work, words and phrases that you can use at work, all right? Then you might have another section for politics. Let's say that you're really interested in politics and you want to be able to read about it, to talk about it, to listen to things where people are discussing politics. Then you're going to need another section for politics, all right? You might have another section for social situations, vocabulary for social situations. Now, you can have as many sections as you want, and they can be about whatever you want. They can be about politics, religion, science, psychology, art, fashion, absolutely anything that you actually like, need, and want to talk about in your everyday life. So even if you do have a long vocabulary list right now, don't worry, you have not wasted your time, but you do need to go back to this list and organize it. You need to sort the phrases according to a topic, a context, or a category. That is really going to help you. And then you can go back to this book and refer to it whenever you need to. So let's say that you have a presentation coming up at work and you're preparing for it, or you have an important meeting or a conference. Pick up your vocabulary book, go to the work section, vocabulary for work, vocabulary for meetings. You can be as detailed as you want with the sections. Review your vocabulary and then you will have a chance to use it, okay? Let's say that you have a party coming up or a networking event or some social situation. Go to the section with vocabulary for social situations, review your words and phrases, and then you can use them. Now, this step, as I said, does require some effort and does require some work, but it's super, super useful because rather than having a mixed up list of words, thousands of words that you have to go through and you can't even find what you're looking for, in this case, you are streamlining this process of learning a new vocabulary and making it relevant to your own life. Another important thing to remember with your vocabulary book is that you need to write examples, all right? So let's say that you learn a new word. You need to also learn the spelling, the pronunciation, the definition, the part of speech, and write some examples down. Now, with your examples, you don't have to be creative. You don't have to be interesting. You just need to write down examples that you can literally memorize, go out and use right away, and then you will remember. And your vocabulary book can also be done digitally. If you prefer to work on the computer, you can simply use a Google document or a Word document as long as it is organized. So normally with my private students, I create a Google document or a Word document that we use to organize their vocabulary together. So I'm a little old school and I personally like writing things down in a book. However, feel free to make this vocabulary list digitally. It doesn't matter, whatever works for you. So these are the 3 keys to taking your English vocabulary to the next level. Repetition, you need to repeat the words again and again. Context, you need to have some kind of context, topic, or situation in which to use the new words and phrases that you learn. And you need to be organized. You need to organize your new language into topics, categories, or situations. Now, these 3 keys are really going to help you change the way that you think about vocabulary. I know that it is easier or faster to learn a new language, to learn new words as a child, but the way that we learn doesn't really change. It's the way that we think about learning that changes. When we're adults, we can be impatient. We want to see results right away, especially if we're putting in effort. But if you have been trying to improve your vocabulary and you've been struggling, you need to take a little step back and look at the approach, the way that you're learning, and identify what's working or what's not working. So hopefully these 3 keys or these 3 steps will help you really improve your English vocabulary. And if you are looking to take your vocabulary to the next level, make sure you check out the weekly English Words membership created by myself and teacher Tiffany. And this membership is designed to help you learn natural English vocabulary in the context of lots of different conversations. So I will link it down below so you can check it out. If you have any questions or comments on this topic, please do drop them below for me. Don't forget to grab your free ebook, English Conversations Made Simple. I will also link it down below. Thank you so much for watching, for learning, and spending time with me today, and I'll see you very soon in another lesson.